What do you say? What do you know? It's the full Monte Sports Show. It is Sunday, 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 October 18th, 2020. I am your host, Monte Perez, aka the Sports Whisperer. You can follow me on all sorts of social media on Twitter, MonteJP231, Facebook, Monte Perez, and on Instagram, Monte Perez2. We had 34 states tune in across the country last week. Thank you so much for making this show part of your Sunday ritual. We are now ranked number 3. Number 3 on your YouTube search. What that means is when you type in sports show on YouTube, we are right behind Undisputed and the Norm McDonald Show. We are number 3, working our way up. Want to give a special shout out to LC Laura for making this bingo drinking card during your Sunday brunch. Anytime I talk about an ex-girlfriend, Marcus Mariota, the Oregon Ducks, LeBron James, working out, you got to take a drink or a shot. This show is going to put you to the test because I'm going to be talking about all those things and then some. Keep the comments coming on the top right-hand corner. We love having them. I read them all throughout the week, so thank you for being part of this show. Our goal is to do this 5 days a week. So if you like this, feel free to post this video and YouTube show to your friends, family, and social media outlets. We have the best guests all across the country, and this week is no exception. One of our favorite people on the planet, Representative Tavia Galonski from Ohio's 35th District will join us. And in 45 minutes, Levi Chadorow will join us, and he's going to talk about the Bills along with Rico, Show Me the Money Graziano. They will be talking fantasy football. Listen, Rico, if you bet on this show, if you bet football, Rico has 4 winning weeks, 1 losing week, doing a tremendous job, but he is struggling when it comes to fantasy football. I've won the last 2 weeks. If you remember, we have a $200 American Express gift card. I expect to win this thing. I'm up 3-2. I expect to clinch it by December, which will have some extra spending money for me during the holidays and my birthday. So Rico, Show Me the Money at the top of the hour. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Let's start our journey with this. Now, my friend Buzz, I've known him since high school, texted me the other day about our hockey game. Now, like I said, good friends in high school, don't talk that much anymore. He'll text me every once in a while. And in high school, on the outside, we had it going on. Some may even call us studs. I was captain of the basketball team. He was captain of the wrestling team. My friend Mike was captain of the football team. I even won prom king. Yes, I won prom king for all you keeping score out there. So on the outside, you would think we had it together. On the outside, we look like a beautiful house, right? We had it going on. But on the inside, we were a disaster. A disaster. We had no clue how to talk to women. We had no clue how to talk to friends. We had no idea what it meant to be a young adult. And I'll never forget the time a college basketball coach called me and was talking to me about playing college at his university. And he's saying that their team has struggled over the past few years. They want to recruit men. They want to recruit guys who are going to live in the gym, guys who are leaders, guys who are men. He must have said men about 20 times. And it was funny to me because as he's saying this, I'm in my bedroom with my NFL pillowcase, blanket, and curtains that I had since the 4th grade. He's talking to me about being a man. And at 17 years old, I probably look like a man, but I was like a 4th grader. By the way, I hate to say this, but if I could find these bed sheets and curtains right now, I would have them in my apartment. Probably says a lot about me. But seriously, we all had these as a kid. Now, most people got rid of them when they were in high school. I kept them until I think a sophomore in college. Yeah, says a lot about me. So me and my friend Buzz were the original Seinfeld and Kramer. We just came up with crazy ideas and we tried to get the other one to go along with it. Now, we weren't troublemakers. We didn't drink. We didn't do any of that stuff in high school. We were athletes. But we always try to come up with great schemes, great plans to relieve us of the boredom of living in northern New Jersey. So 2 days, 3 days before Christmas, the 22nd, there was a terrible snowstorm on the 21st. He comes to my house at like 8 in the morning. Again, I'm sleeping in my NFL. I love these things. I really want to get these. I'm sleeping in my NFL blanket, pillowcase, and he tells me we have got to go to Teaneck, which was about a mile and a half away, to Sports Authority that was opening up today because they're having all sorts of specials, and they were going to give Bauer ice skates and Bauer hockey sticks for $15. Grand opening, Christmas holiday special. Now, here's the deal. Back then, you didn't care about how you dressed when it snowed out. There was no fashion. There was no fashion. It was just you dressed to be warm. I remember I would put on sweatpants, I'd put on jeans, and then I would put on my pajama pants over it, over it. So we walked to Teaneck, Cedar Lane, and we looked homeless. We looked like a homeless. We didn't care about fashion. We just wanted to be warm. Now, one of the things that I had throughout high school for some reason is I had red mittens. I didn't have gloves. I had red mittens. And every year, my mom would buy me red mittens for Christmas. And women, girls in high school, would be like, hey, can I borrow your red mittens? Because they like the fashion. So I may not have been cool to guys, but to women, they liked my fashion. So we get to the Sports Authority. Now, something happened to me in high school. I hit a growth spurt. I was like 5'7" my freshman year, and then I grew to 6'1" by the time I was a senior. And my feet kept growing. From 9th to 12th grade, I had a size 9 foot, and then I had a size 12 foot. And now I moved to Florida. I just bought a pair of sneakers last week, 2 weeks ago, size 13. When they bury me, they're going to have to put clown feet on me because my feet are the only thing that keeps growing on me. So we go to the Sports Authority. They don't have a size 12 in black or white skates. And they weren't Bauer ice skates. They were figure skates. So for some reason, the only thing that they had in my size, a size 12, was pink skates. Now, I wasn't going to buy these pink skates. I'm not wearing pink skates. I already have the red mittens. Why would I buy pink skates? But Buzz, being the Kramer to my Seinfeld, says, get the pink skates. Women will think you're sensitive. That was the reasoning. So I got the pink skates. And they didn't have the Bauer hockey sticks for $35, $40. They were like $70. They had the Milek hockey sticks, plastic, for $5. So Buzz tells them my birthday's December 23rd. Can they throw in a hockey ball? Somehow getting an orange hockey ball made the pink skates that they didn't have the black and white, made the pink skates a good reason because he's like, hey, man, you got pink skates, but we got a plastic hockey ball. All right. So we get the stuff. We walk up to Overpeck Park, and my friend Mike meets us there. Now, Mike didn't have a lot of money, okay? But he loved to play goalie. But the problem was his goalie equipment was from like the 1950s. He didn't have a mask. He didn't have hockey gloves. I actually had to make it one more time. I had to give him the red mittens to have a catcher's mitt for hockey. And the net that he had was so ghetto. It was so old. It actually had duct tape on it. Duct tape on the net. So we get to the rink. We're there early. There's no one there, but there's these three guys who we don't know, and they look like they were in college. And let me tell you something, people. They had the equipment that we can only dream of. They had the bird cage, the mouthpiece, the shoulder pads, the hockey gloves, the beautiful Bauer ice hockey sticks. We didn't have any of those things. Now, I was not a poor kid. My parents worked hard. Anything I wanted, they made sure that I had. But for some reason at that moment in time, me, Mike, and Buzz, we felt like the outsiders. And the guys we were going to play were the Socias from the movie The Outsiders. By the way, can we go back to this outsider picture for a moment? Look at the studs. Look at the hunks. Look at the talent right here. You have Rob Lowe, Patrick Swayze, Emilio Estevez, Tom Cruise, Matt Dillon, Ralph Macchio. By the way, I think Ralph Macchio was like 25 when this movie was made. And the outsider is to the right there. C. Thomas Howell. He's the only one who didn't make it. Talk about a star-studded cast right there. So anyway, back to story. We're gonna play this. We're gonna play the Socias, right? We're gonna play these guys who obviously have been playing hockey since birth, and we think we're gonna beat these guys. Well, it starts off like you can imagine. It is just ugly. They go up 3-0, and then they just start fooling around. Now, poor Mike, they're shooting slap shots. He's getting hurt. Every time they shoot a slap shot and he makes a save because his pads, his mittens, he doesn't have a face mask. He's just like, just getting beaten up. So they start making fun. They're throwing behind the puck passes. They're laughing at us. And we tell them, look, the reason why you're beating us is because we're not used to playing with pucks. We need to use the orange ball, and that'll make a difference. Well, as soon as we put the orange ball in, one of their players takes a slap shot, and the orange ball breaks. It breaks. So the free gift we got from Sports Authority was literally over in 5 minutes. So fast forward some way, somehow, it's now 6-5. 6-5. I call timeout, and I start screaming at the guys, and I'm telling them, look, if we lose this game to these guys, we won't be able to get jobs. We won't be able to get girlfriends. We won't be able to live our lives. This is the most important thing in our lives right now, and you guys are letting these guys bully us. Mike says he thinks he has internal bleeding. I'm not kidding. He says my rib hurts, my leg is bruised, and I use a Herb Brooks quote. I said, a bruised leg is a long way from the heart. We got to play with heart. Some way, somehow, Buzz is like a man possessed. He's now checking these guys. He scores 2 goals. It's 6-6. Now, the game was up to 10, but all of a sudden, parents, kids start coming to the rink. So we had to make it up to 7 because they wanted to get on the rink. It's a cold day. Parents want their kids to ice skate. We got there early, so we're doing fine. We say, look, game's up to 7. Parents are now taking sides. Some are cheering for them. Some are cheering for us. It is 6-6. I go to check one of the guys. He puts on a move. I fall flat on my face. It's a 2-on-1. They come down. Buzz is the only defender. The kid takes a slap shot, and Buzz slides across the rink and blocks the shot with his face. He's bleeding all over the place. They call timeout. Buzz says to me, do I need stitches? He opens his mouth. Not that bad. There was blood everywhere, but it looked worse. Now, here's the thing. Buzz was a district champ wrestler. And when he got anxious, when he got nervous, when he got excited before a match, he would go to shake his kid's hand before the wrestling match, and he would just start singing, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, and then shake the kid's hand, and the kids would look at his coach like this guy's a psychopath. So Buzz, seeing all the blood, getting nervous, he starts singing, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato. With the blood, he had a black eye from the stick. He looked like the Joker. Blood all over his face, singing, hot potato, hot potato. Now, I just want you to imagine, these kids were talking trash. They were demeaning us, making fun of us. We didn't have the hockey equipment. They were just mocking us the whole game. But at that moment in time, when a bloody mess is screaming, hot potato, fear came over their face. Now, it reminds me of the movie A Bronx Tale when the bikers go into the mafia bar, and they had a reputation for busting up these bars. And Chaz Palminteri comes out and says, what's the problem? He's like, we just want a couple beers. You know, our money's no good here. So Chaz Palminteri tells the bartender to give him beers, gives him a round of beers, and they splash the beer all over the bartenders. Chaz Palminteri walks, locks the door, and says, now you can't leave. And the look of fear on the biker's face was priceless. The look of fear on these guys' face was priceless. They knew this wasn't a game to us. This was life or death. And to beat us, you're going to have to kill us. So we get the puck. Buzz goes in on a breakaway, wide open goal, hits the post. They come down, 2-on-1, slap shot. It's going in, right? They're going to win the game? No, Mike stops it with the glove, the mittens. We come down, and excuse me for this, really cheesy graphic, but I think it shows exactly what happened. Buzz passes to me. I shoot it. We score. We win the game. We start hugging each other like we just won the gold medal. I'm holding my Milek hockey stick like Mark Messier is holding the Stanley Cup trophy. Parents are cheering. Kids are cheering. I look over. This little girl is crying. She's crying because of the beautiful moment that just happened. At least that's what I thought. The reason why she was crying is because we're jumping around, we're rolling around in the ice, things are getting out of control, and I start to feel water shoot up my leg. It is as if we threw a 10-pound rock on the ice skating rink. The entire ice skating rink starts to crack. All the kids, the 50, 75 kids waiting to skate, cannot do it. Parents are coming up to us, yelling at us. What the hell did you do? We're calling the police. We ruined the entire skating for those kids that day. Now, turns out, okay, we left. We got out of there. Mike broke his finger on that last save. Buzz lost a tooth. I broke my pinky toe early on in the game because I had these cheesy ice skates and a slap shot went off it with no protection. But it didn't matter because for that day, we were winners. For that day, rule number 76, play like a champion. So to this day, Buzz or Mike, I don't talk to them often. They'll just text me out of the blue. If you lose this game, you'll take it to your effing graves. Part of the reason why Herb Brooks and the 1980 U.S. hockey team was one of the greatest sports moments because I lived it in a lesser version, and that is the legendary hockey story that connects me and my high school friends to this very day. Thank you very much. All right, we start each show with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's start with the good. On his way out of the NBA bubble in Orlando, Florida Houston Rockets star Russell Westbrook wanted to show his appreciation for the housekeeping. Russell Westbrook left an $8,000 tip. An $8,000 tip. He said they took great care of us. Westbrook told Bleacher Report, confirming the tip. They took the time and energy to make us feel special, and it was up to us to reward them for their hard work. So listen, I have a lot of problems with Russell Westbrook on and off the court, but this was a tremendous job by him, so give him the credit. If every NBA player left thousands of dollars to the cleaning crew and the people who took care of them in the bubble, that is a great job by him. So great job by Russell Westbrook. Now let's move to the bad. Where would it be with the bad? Where would it be without talking about the Jets? Le'Veon Bell signed a 4-year, $52 million contract from the Steelers to join the New York Jets in March 2009. As a Jet, he rushed for 863 yards, 3 touchdowns in 17 games, averaged just over 3.3 yards per carry. He is now, the Jets released him. They got nothing for him. He is now a Kansas City Chief. And it's funny, my good friend Jared said he should have signed with the Bills. I'm like, why would you sign with the Bills? You're going to a Super Bowl winning team. Remember, before Le'Veon Bell joined the Jets, he was number 1 in the history of the NFL in yards per scrimmage per game. More than Barry Sanders, more than Emmitt Smith, more than Jim Brown, more than Walter Payton. Le'Veon Bell was a great player before he came to the Jets, and now he joins the Chiefs. And I think he's going to do a great job there. So great pickup by them. So there's the good, the bad, and now finally the grossly ugly. I listen to sports radio all across the country, and there's one guy who really needs to be removed from the airways. His name is Will Cain. Fox Sports host Will Cain actually suggested on Fox News that the Democratic Party is domestic tyrants because they support Black Lives Matter. Listen, you might not recognize Will Cain here because I'm sure he usually dresses up in a hood. Will Cain is saying Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. Make no mistake about Will Cain. He's a rabid racist. Remember, Jamel Hill got kicked off ESPN for saying that Donald Trump is a white supremacist. Well, Will Cain goes on national TV and is constantly saying that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization that wants to destroy the American way of life. Will Cain, listen, I have not cursed on over 500 radio show podcasts doing this YouTube show. I will never curse on the air, but Will Cain, this is for you. This is for you. For those who've seen the show Friends, you know exactly what that means. This guy's an absolute disgrace, racist. ESPN should remove him immediately. Immediately. There you have the good, the bad, and the ugly. All right. Listen, there's a lot of talk on social media. We're going to get Representative Tavia Galonski on in 5 minutes. But before we do that, we're going to break down every game spanning the NFL. I am 48-17 picking games. 48-17. So for all you haters on Twitter who say I'm the jinx, I'm the mush, 48-17, baby. Let's get right to it. All right. 4-1 Ravens at the 1-3-1 Eagles. The Ravens are number one in NFL yards per rush. They are number one in the NFL in scoring defense. Lamar Jackson, for all his flaws, is 23-4 as a starter. I want to root for Carson Wentz. I really do. But take Baltimore here in a rout. 37-20. 1-4 Texans at the 4-0 Titans. Derrick Henry should have a huge game against a Houston defense that struggles on both sides of the ball. Ryan Tannehill. You know, was it Adam Gase that made him a terrible quarterback? Because Ryan Tannehill is kicking butt. He should throw for over 300 yards, and I expect all these games, except one or two, to be high scoring. Take the Titans, 34-23. 1-3 Broncos at the 2-2 Patriots. Now, when we think of running teams, in the NFL, we think of the Ravens, we think of the Browns, but the Patriots are number two behind the Browns in rushing yards per game. And the Patriots defense has allowed only one rushing TD on the season. The Patriots have won 5 regular season games against Denver. This is a Patriot blowout from start to finish. Take the Patriots, 34-17. 0-5 Jets. 0-5 Jets at the 2-3 Dolphins. The Jets are averaging 15 points per game. That is the NFL worst. Now, I will never forget I was dating this woman. And she asked me to meet her brother. And her brother was the most annoying person on the planet. And after we met him, she's like, okay, I know he's annoying, but can you give me one compliment, one positive thing about him? And I said, yes. The best thing I could say about him is he's the most annoying person I've ever met. That's the best compliment I could give him. Now, why do I say this? The best compliment I could give the Jets right now is they're going to go 1-15. That is their best, most optimistic outlook. I'm not going to bore you with their schedule, but they have to play the Chiefs, the Bills, the Patriots twice, the Rams, Seattle. The best case scenario is the Jets go 1-15, and that's fine for me because the Jets will then get Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence. Take the Fins up, 30-20. 4-1 Bears at the 3-2 Panthers. Look, Daniel Goblin's been on the show, does a tremendous job. My good friend Andrea is a Bears fan. People think I'm anti-Bears. I'm not. If you remember, I said in my preseason show that the Bears could surprise a lot of teams. I had them going 9-7, and if everything goes well, 10-6. 10-6. The Bears are one of two teams that every game has been decided by one score or less. And listen, Robbie Anderson, former Jet with the Panthers, 36 catches. Mike Davis has 30 filling in for Christian McCaffrey. Look, I'm rolling with the Panthers here. Again, all you haters on social media, I said in preseason, the Vegas Sharps had the Carolina Panthers winning 5 games. They're 3-2 right now. I said that's the dumbest bet of the year. I said take the Panthers because if all goes well, they'll be a playoff team. They're 3-2. If they win this game, they're 4-2. 4-2. So take the Panthers in a slight upset with Robbie Anderson, 23-20. 1-3-1 Bengals at the 3-2 Colts. The Colts have allowed fewer than 265 passing yards in 5 straight games. Their defense is very good situationally. I expect Joe Burrow to have a good game, but turn the ball over here. And the Colts are winning by causing turnovers and their defense. Phillip Rivers is not getting it done. If I'm the Colts, I call the Saints and I look for Jameis Winston. I call the Jets and Giants for Daniel Jones or Sam Darnold and look to make a trade, because if the Colts had a quarterback other than Phillip Rivers, they'd be legit. Take the Colts here, 24-16. 1-3 Lions at the 1-4 Jaguars. The Jaguars are allowing 30 points a game in 4 straight games. The Lions should score big here. Detroit goes 2-3. Take the Lions, 35-23. 0-5 Atlanta Falcons at the 1-4 Vikings. The Falcons are playing their first game under interim coach Raheem Morris after firing Dan Quinn. Look, I think Kirk Cousins has a good game here. I really do. I think that the Vikings, I know they were without Dalvin Cook, but I think the Vikings win here, and I think they win big. Take the Vikings 33-25. Washington football team, this is against the Dallas. This is really sad. Washington's 1-4. Giants are 0-5. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this game because let's face it. No one outside of Washington or New York is watching this game, but I'm going to take the Giants here. I think they found something a little offensively, scoring 34 points against the Dallas Cowboys. Take the Giants 23-20. LA Rams 4-1 at the 2-3 49ers. Think about this. Okay? The Rams are number 1 in yards differential per game, and they are number 1 in sacks. Now, part of that has to do with the fact that, look, they played Washington last week, and they had 8 sacks. The Rams have allowed 1 passing TD or fewer in 4 of the last 5 games. Jalen Ramsey's getting it done. The 49ers are desperate for a win, but I'm going to take the Rams here in a slight upset, 27-24. Now, finally, Arizona 3-2 at the 2-3 Dallas Cowboys. Look, Andy Dalton is 0-4 on Monday night. But I think Andy Dalton is going to put up numbers. I think Andy Dalton is a very serviceable quarterback. We know CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott. They have a plethora of weapons on Dallas, so they should put up points. But if the Giants can score 34 points with a bad offense, imagine what Kyler Murray's going to do. This is going to be a fun game Monday night to watch. It's going to be very fun. Take the Cardinals here, 41-33. Again, I'm 48-17 on the year, and that is spanning the NFL right there. Now, before we get Representative Tavia Galonski on, we are going to do one of the things that I love to do, and that is surf the crowd. Let's surf the crowd to see what we have here. All right, people talking. Yes, listen, I don't relive high school. I don't. But that's one of the stories that I thought was a lot of fun. Listen, I didn't know that C. Thomas Howell was amazing in Southland. Let's bring up that picture again. The Outsiders. Look at that. I didn't know C. Thomas Howell was in that. Good for him. Let's look at that picture right there of the Outsiders. Talk about your talented bunch of people right there. All right. Now, I do think the 49ers lose this week. I'm all about the Rams. I was wrong about them. The Rams are a very, very good team. So let's bring on one of our favorite people of all time, Representative Tavia Galonski. How are you this morning? Thanks so much for joining us on.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm doing great. How about you guys?
And that is the Pittsburgh Steelers background for you. And we're gonna get to that right now. But let's talk about Akron's own LeBron James, 10th NBA final. 5 different coaches, 4th championship, 4th MVP. Talk about what he did this year and what he means to the people of that great city.
Thank you so much for having me. What I've always said about him is you'll never know what you don't know about him and what he does for Akron. And we could not thank him enough. Here I have an opportunity to say thank you to LeBron James. Here's the thing. Let's just talk about who he is. And I've got to admit, here's a little secret. I am and was a huge Michael Jordan fan. But this is what LeBron does that's different. He actually keeps getting better. I mean, have you noticed that physically? He understands training better. He trains more like is it with the mixed martial artists, so they train all the time. He trains like that, and I think that's what's made the difference. And he brought it home for us. I can't be happier.
It's amazing because in his 17th year, they asked him to switch positions. He
Yep.
ran the point guard. He led the league in assists. He led his teams in points, rebounds, and assists. And one of the things that was so amazing to me is we saw a lot of veteran teams like the Clippers, like
Yeah.
Houston, like Milwaukee, who just really pretty much just crumbled with the pressure of the bubble. It's almost like LeBron needed this challenge and say, guys, we're going to stay focused. We're going to focus on basketball and talk about his leadership, what he did. I mean, it's amazing that all these veteran teams crumbled in the bubble. The Lakers were a veteran team. They had none of it. They were so focused.
They say that if you've had a little adversity in your life, when you face challenging times in the future, as you get to be an adult or as you come into your own as an athlete, then you're just going to be better than other people. And I think that's what he showed us is he remembers those challenges he faced as a kid. He remembers the challenges he faced when people said, he couldn't do it and they used to choke. And he pulled all that together in the middle of a pandemic and said, the bubble's the way this is going to work and I can do this. And then he just took all that inner strength and said, I got to remember I'm a leader. And he led.
I couldn't have been happier. To do it, he's won 3 titles now with 3 different teams. And in each of those finals that he won, he led the teams in points, rebounds, and assists. It's amazing what he does. Someone said LeBron James doesn't need a coach. LeBron James doesn't need a third option. He just needs the ball. Yeah. And that's all he needs. I mean, it's been amazing. So I want to talk about the bubble a little bit because the radical right, Fox News, they keep attacking athletes. But we look at who's leading in this pandemic. It's people on the left. It's athletes. Not one positive test in the bubble. Not one reporter. Not one referee. Not one coach. Not one player. We can't live in a bubble. But we're seeing now with the coronavirus growing once again. I'm here in Florida. It's a disaster. How can we take what they did and just learn from them to be safer? I can't believe I'm saying this. Almost 9 months into this pandemic, we're getting worse.
You know what the problem is that people forgot that and I love wearing this, it says USA, that we're on Team USA, right? And so if we could have learned from the team mentality from leaders like LeBron, we would have figured out that I'm not really all by myself in this. If I don't have my team members, we're not going to win, right? We're not at our best unless we act like a team. And that's what the bubble was. The bubble was all about let's focus on the team. And they remembered, the first thing I love about it is they remembered that family is important to the team, right? So part of that bubble was you got people on board. You made sense telling people, here's the science that we know right now. And if we use this, we can do what we're going to do and we can be successful. I think that was the strength of the bubble. And I think we can all learn from the bubble 2 things, that we are all in this together and that we have to follow the science that we know. A lot of people have been pretty frustrated saying things like, well, they told us before the mask didn't work. Now they're telling us, no, that's the point of the whole team mentality, right? Is when I find out a better way to train you, then I'm going to tell you that. That's a great coach. That's a great trainer, right? And that's what the bubble was about. It was about testing. It was about contact tracing. So they're ready. They're looking for the virus and they're finding out we can't let it get in because if it gets in, we don't play. And so they figured out, how do we find out if it's here? Test first thing in the morning. I love it. Why can't we do that? We're the greatest country on earth. Then the second thing they figured out was, if somebody gets it, what do we do? Well, if you stamp down hard on somebody, if you punish them, like I used to say to my kids and my little grandson, if you're too hard on them, they're not really going to listen to you. What's the answer? Figure out a way to get them back on the team. And I think that's a USA model we could all benefit from.
No, that's a great point. Like I said, the bubble was definitely an amazing thing. And again, it's not hard to wear a mask. I wear a mask when I ride, when I go to the gym. I tell people all the time, like, this is not against your constitution, right? You could go to the store. You could go walking. We don't allow smoking in restaurants. We have people who can't drive drunk. We have people, you have to wear your seatbelt. This is not again. And one of the things I loved about the NBA, every day before a game, every team that played, they would show pictures, mask up. We're a visual society. I have 75 pictures for this show alone, just because people don't want to see my face for an hour and a half. So I mean, just wear a mask could save a lot of lives, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing about the mask is it's just that little piece of information that helped get us on the other side. And so instead of I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a woman, I'm a man, let's quit being mad at each other and let's all be Americans. I think that's the answer. And see, we can use the model of what LeBron did as a team. He's a fabulous teammate. A lot of people talk about, his physicality and his abilities and so on. But what he is better than anything is he knows how to be on a team, how to be a team player. He knows his own strengths and he knows the strengths of the people around him. That's what it is to get through this pandemic, is to find out the same thing. I've got, people across the aisle that are my friends I can work with when the trenches are down. But what we did was we made a mistake. We made a mistake. You got to admit it, whether we were on the liberal, or we were on the right, we made a mistake when we made this about us versus them. It's us versus the virus. And that's the only way we're going to get back to this. Yeah, the science is what it is. We've got to respect them because what? The scientists have gotten us through every pandemic, every epidemic, everything that we ever had to face. Eventually, the science proved out. You got to trust it. You got to go back to your leaders. And you got to remember, we're all on the same team, Team USA.
100%. And the thing is, if you don't wear a mask, you could be a carrier. You could spread
Yeah.
it. We just saw, which leads to my next question. Nick Saban. I don't know what happened, but they said he tested positive on Tuesday, and then Thursday to Saturday he didn't test positive. I was
Yeah.
originally against. My friend Greg is against college football playing, but I think on the college campus it's probably the safest environment, right, for these athletes because they're getting tested 3, 4 times a week. They're holding each other accountable and responsible. The Big Ten starts Saturday. How do you feel about? I mean, I know Ohio State. I lived in Ohio for a year. It is the most important thing. Ohio State football to the people who live in Ohio. How do you feel about college football coming back in the Big Ten?
You know, I'm all for football. I'm excited about anybody who plays. I think I've told you before, in high school, I got the great honor of sitting at every game because I was in band. So my job was cheering the group on. So I love it. I love the pageantry of it. I love everything about it. And what we need right now is some good news. But here's the thing that worries me. What worries me is, are the athletes staying all by themselves? Because remember, going back to the bubble, that can work if you've got a commitment. But here, the truth is, we're social. We want to be around other people. If I'm in college, I remember college days. Listen, you want to hang out with people. You want to socialize. So who are you going to socialize with? Have they committed to being in the bubble? A lot of times when you're in college, you're just finding yourself. You're finding out who your friends are. Maybe those are not your same friends the next week. So how's it going to work? So I support the concept. I support it. But I think the problem is how many people can I get into this team mentality? Maybe if I've got a boyfriend or girlfriend this week, maybe that's not who I'm with next week. And the problem is the virus is social, right? It's going to get, it's going to go from my nose or my mouth to you if we're around each other. And that's really the question is, who are we mixing up inside? Is it really a bubble or isn't it? And that's hard to do with college. You got more players than you do basketball, right? And the NBA. So it's something to consider. Again, I wish them all the best. And no matter what, even if you decide that you're in the football kind of a bubble, the best they can do, please protect yourself and others when you go see your grandparents, when you go see your aunts. If you decide you're going to go to that party, the best thing you can do is put on a mask. You know, the mask is all we have right now. We just found out, unfortunately, that remdesivir, isn't what we thought it was going to be. We don't really have any treatments. We're not all going to die. We've got a pretty good survival rate, but who could you potentially be responsible for killing just because you didn't want to wear a mask?
Great points taken. I put the Pittsburgh Steeler background. You live in Ohio. You're a Steeler fan. I think you said to me one time that it was a requirement for your marriage that
Yeah,
is that true? It was a
it's a fact.
requirement that your husband was a Steeler fan.
No, it was the other way around. So we were kind of getting to know each other, and you know me, I've been a Steelers fan for a long time. Since a little kid, even many states I lived in, but I just always really liked the Steelers because they have that fighting spirit, and what you want in a team, I think, is you want a team that feels like they're going to win. And look at them right now, 4-0. So anyway, getting back to me and my marriage, we were kind of dating each other. He said to me, "Okay, this could be a deal breaker. You know, tell me who your team is." And I said, "Well, my brother always supported the Cowboys." His face looked down, and I said, "But I've always been a Steelers fan." He goes, "Yeah, we can do this."
I don't think I mean that was that the closing deal right there? Was that okay? We're moving forward here.
There were some other details, but if you think about it, what are we going to do on the weekends? How are we going to hang together? You know, again, that's that team mentality, building a team. He and I already supported a team, and we found together other common traits that work for us too. So no, I'm not saying my whole 26-year marriage is built on the Steelers, but it didn't hurt.
Listen, Big Ben is playing great.
Oh,
Greg just plays 23-1
yep,
against the Browns. The Browns are playing great as well.
yep.
Are you shocked at how good Big Ben coming off surgery? No extended OTAs, no preseason games. Are you shocked at how good he's playing?
I'm really not shocked because, again, remember who he plays for. You know, a lot of you guys are going to be mad out there. If they weren't playing today, I kind of be a Browns fan too because you already got to support the home team. But think back to what the Steelers have. What Steelers have is they have heart. They know they're going to win. They feel it. And why? And today's going to be the same thing because they already did it. And when you have that spirit, when you have that type of confidence, a lot of people think it's arrogance. It's not. It's just that that's what they're built on. And that kind of tradition builds into people, even when they get sick, even when they have to have surgery, well, they build back better. And that's what Big Ben's doing.
No, they've been amazing, and their defense. I've said this a long time. T.J. Watt, who's the brother of J.J. Watt, has been he was phenomenal last year. Think about this: they have 20 sacks on the season, and we know that Baker Mayfield struggles when you put pressure on him. They have 70 pressures. So as good as their offense has been, their defense is amazing. I mean, I'm not going to compare it to the steel curtain of the 70s with Mean Joe Green, Jack Lambert, but this defense is pretty special.
Well, and really, do we go under the old adage of, everything is defense is everything? Maybe so. And so, the Browns are looking pretty good. But what's going to happen is we're going to come together with that winning spirit. We're going to come together with better training. We're going to come together with really a tradition of winning. And that's why we're going to pull it out today. Not arrogant, just confident.
Some people say what's happening with this administration is sometimes you got to hit rock bottom to move forward. I think Big Ben getting hurt, I think the last year or two, he kind of took for granted
Yeah.
what he had. And then it being taken away, he realized what it was like again to want something, to have that hunger, almost like Rocky 3. I think Big Ben
Right.
lost the eye of the tiger, and now all
Yeah.
of a sudden he missed it for a year. He's coming back better than ever.
Well, don't call it a comeback, right? But one of the best things that we do, one of the best things we can do in our lives is rebuild ourselves, remake ourselves. I mean, you say what you want about this pandemic. I don't like being in my house right now. You can see I'm fumbling with the camera and everything. But what's awesome is we can reinvent ourselves. And so you can spend all your time complaining about how life hits you really hard, or you can just build back better. And I think that's what it's all about. I really do.
One of the things we had you on my podcast early on, and one of the things you said that really, really stuck with me is instead of complaining about what this radical right wing administration is doing, focus on what we can do. So let's
Yes.
move to your state. I know my friend, I live in Florida. My friend Andrea lives in Wisconsin. Trump just had a super spreader event. It's all over here. What are you doing for your states? And I got to ask this question because I don't know how you have the patience. Maybe it's your faith. But if I was in a meeting and someone like Jim Jordan or some radical right was denying science, I'd want to punch them in the face. How do
Yeah.
you have the patience to deal with science deniers?
Well, I just remember the other part of my earlier career. Like I worked my way through law school as a flight attendant. So a lot of the things that I'm learning, I'm using today and all the time in order to get along with others is what I learned as a flight attendant. And so, I wrote down a couple of things that I think are important. Greet people with a smile. So I subpoenaed Jim Jordan to come to one of the committees here in Ohio. And one of the first things I would do had I greeted him is greet him with a smile. You've got to welcome people into the situation, even if they're not your friends. Even when I was a manager demonstrate when I was welcoming people in, I was just welcoming them in with a smile because it breaks the ice. It goes back to that whole thing about us being really social people. But the other thing is help people get comfortable. So does it help for me to scream at a Jim Jordan? Does it help for me to scream at my opponents? No. And so I've made some mistakes along the way that I have to admit to. Maybe I was a little too aggressive with people about whether or not they have on masks, but that's because my own mother is recovering from coronavirus and they're saying her lungs will never be the same. But what I have learned is patience and calm. Nobody wants to get on a flight all agitated and concerned about what's going to happen. You got to help people get comfortable in that first class seat or even in coach, help them put their luggage away, right? So that's one of the things you can do, make people feel comfortable. But the most important thing about what's going on with this pandemic and how to get along with others is if it comes to an emergency situation, we've got to be ready to actually put safety and security first. So you let somebody into your place, you try to get them comfortable, but then you let them know that my deal breaker is safety and security. And so sometimes you got to get stern with people about safety and security, and that's what I would do. Again, with people across the aisle, with people in Ohio, that this is serious and the virus is no joke. So that's how I would kind of handle it. Yes, I've been frustrated, and unfortunately, we just got the news last week that we hit some of we broke records right after the super spreader events. And again, why do I call them super spreader? Because the virus comes out through my nose and my mouth. That's what we know so far. It's not because, I think I'm better than anybody. It's not about that. It's about the science that we have today. And every day, people are looking at this virus trying to figure it out. What we do know is the masks work and people need to put them on. So it's not about you or me. It's about us and what we can do to try to get past it. I know that was a lot, but
No,
just
no, listen,
how I'm
listen.
trying to
That's
get
why
it.
we have you on to calm us down, to lead us. And we love the comments. How about this one, Rep Galonski? Just went LL Cool J with "Don't call it a comeback" reference. So great job by George Lopez. We love that. Okay, so people are afraid that their vote won't be counted. I've gotten 5 people that I know of who've never voted before to register and vote, and they're voting for Biden, Harris. Um, I voted last Saturday with mail. Unfortunately, in my county, I can't track my ballot, but they have it online. IWillVote.com. Track your ballot. How can we assure that our vote's going to be counted? I'm not buying what Trump is saying. I think there's been 25 cases of voter fraud in the last 20
Mm-hmm.
years. 23 of them have been Republicans. So I'm not buying this BS that mail in voted. But people are nervous. They're nervous that this election's going to be stolen.
Well, it all goes back to the team mentality. Whether I'm trying to shoot a layup and I've got to go a different direction because you're giving me this over here, whether I'm playing football and I decide that, I see you over there, getting ready to block me, and I got to go a different direction. It's the same way with our vote. Here in Ohio, we've got many choices to vote, right? Right now, the neat thing is you could go in early and vote. I want to encourage everybody watching this to do that. Why? Because you don't want to be on November 3rd with a bunch of congestion, a bunch of problems and confusion. Remember, the virus is still out there. If you're hearing me right now, or if you're seeing me, and you can go, just go vote. Go vote first thing tomorrow morning. Commit to it. If you run into a hiccup tomorrow, what do we do when we're out there and we're trying to make the next play? Was it baseball? Over and done, right? Over to the next play. That's what you can do. Don't get frustrated. Just realize what is the end goal. The end goal is winning, and we all win when we vote. So whatever you need to do, whatever state you're in, just go commit to it. And then when you do it, can you tag me, Rep Galonski, and tell me that you voted? Because I just want to
Yes,
build
yes.
you up.
That is awesome. Listen, I love this too because I agree with the statement right here. As a former bartender, I love that she worked at, she learned everything about bartending. Bartending,
Yes,
flight attendants, you deal with the best and the worst, and you just
it's
have to
true.
keep smiling, right?
It's true. And then, occasionally you want to remind people that I'm bringing you your food and drinks. It's like a threat, right? But all you're saying to people is there's a way to be served. There's a way to get through all this together. And that's an okay reference, but I love it. One of the things I always wanted to be was a bartender, and I got to be one up in the friendly skies. So it's all good.
Okay, last 2 things. What is the score of the Steeler game? Do they win today?
It's 45-3.
So you think they win big?
Yeah, I do.
You think they
Because
dominate the field?
again, they're going to dominate. Because what is it? People just don't get it. What is it about the Steelers? See, they've got a 4-0 record, so they're already winners. So today you just come in there and blow it out. Unfortunately, as much as I love the Browns, and I do love the Browns, don't get me wrong, except when they're playing the Steelers, there's something about them. They don't quite have that kind of confidence. I could be wrong today. Maybe they've got it back, and I'm just going to be proud for all you Brownies. But I think it's what's going to happen is once
No,
again we blow
I
you
agree
out.
with you. And again, Baker Mayfield struggle when he has to make plays. Steelers are gonna, the Browns are gonna try to run the ball, and I
Yeah.
think the Steelers shut them down. First of all, how can we follow you on social media? How can we support your career? I tell people this all the time. Until 2016, I only donated to the people in my state. But what
Oh,
good does that mean if I was in New Jersey and
see,
everything that I wanted, but in the other 49 states, they were all radical right wingers. So I've donated to your
exactly.
campaign. I will donate
Thank you.
today. I've
Thank
donated to
you.
South Carolina, Jamie Harrison. I donated to Amy McGrath. How can we follow you and support you even if we're not in Ohio?
I'm so glad you asked. So, in these final stretches, what do you do as a candidate, right? Well, I could, run another ad, or I could try to do robocalls, or I could pay some people to be poll workers. That's for $5. You giving me $5 today at taviagalonski.com. You can make a difference just doing that. It's a mouthful. TaviaGalonski.com. Your $5 goes towards me helping. And guess what else? It's not about me. Go back to the team mentality. If I have any money left over, I'm helping other good candidates get in Ohio because we have to make a difference. You've had 30 years of Republican corruption, and here's where they've left us. And so if you contribute to my campaign from other states, and it'll make a difference for the entire America because a strong Ohio, what do they say? So goes Ohio, so goes the rest
So
of the
goes
world.
the election.
That's
Exactly. They
right.
say that
Yep.
here in Florida, too. Those are the big states.
Yeah.
Representative Kowalski, it's always a pleasure to have you on. You always calm me down and motivate me. So thank you for taking the time. And
Thank
hopefully the
you.
Steelers get a win. You're always welcome on my show anytime, day or night. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're the best. I appreciate you.
Have a
Okay.
great, great Sunday. Take care. That was Representative Galonski. She is so smart. She's so calm. She's a political star on the rise. And speaking of stars on the rise, we're going to bring in Levi Chadorow right now. Let's get this Steelers background off so you can feel at home. And let's put in the Bills background. Levi, how are you today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. Look, let's get right to it. The Bills are 4-1, off to a great start. Before we talk about Josh Allen and their offense, I'm shocked at their defense, Levi. The Bills are 30th in the NFL, allowing offense to convert on third down 50% of the time, and they're 21st, giving up 28.4 points per game. What has gone wrong this year?
It's a good question. I think a big part of it is Star Latule. He opted out due to COVID. So our run defense is not what it used to be. And then additionally, we had some injuries. Matt Milano's been out, and Tre'Davious White, who's our star cornerback, he's been out. So without those three, our defense is lackluster.
Now, I mean, I love the coaching staff. I think he's a great coach. How can we shore up that run defense? Because let's be honest, Bill Belichick, that they opted out 8 players, and his defense has been phenomenal. What do they need to do to stop to be better in the running game?
It's a good question. Belichick, first of all, continues to blow my mind every single year. I keep counting out the Patriots, and they keep doing it. I don't know how he does it. But I do think Tre'Davious White's going to come back today or on Monday, and I also think that Milano's going to come back. So that should at least help the pass defense. And then the run defense is just going to have to be a team effort.
Levi, people are confused seeing you without Rico here. They're like, well, I said Rico's going to join the show, but you're perfectly fine on your own. You're like the lone wolf, right? You don't need Rico. You don't need the pack to get your food.
I mean, the more the merrier, but I can do it alone.
Listen, Josh Allen has surprised me. Okay, one of the biggest complaints I had for him was at Wyoming, a terrible conference. He completed 56% of his passes. He's completing 69.3% of his passes, 317 yards on the ground, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Look, he had a bad game against the Titans, but are you shocked at how mature and how quickly he's turned it around?
Oh, I am so surprised. He is this year's Lamar Jackson so far. And last time I was on the show, I was saying some negative things about him. And I take it back. He's been amazing. Apparently, they worked with him in the offseason and they changed his throwing motion a little bit. So that seems to have helped his passing a lot. And also, just the scheme is different. We used to run so much, and now they're letting him throw the ball. And obviously, the Stephon Diggs addition was huge. He trusts Diggs, and he just gets rid of the ball really quickly, and it's helped him a lot.
We talked about this in preseason. My biggest concern was who'd be their featured running back. With Josh Allen, they're only averaging 93.8 yards per rush, which is 28th in the NFL. I wanted them to get Le'Veon Bell. He obviously went to the Kansas City Chiefs. How do we get this running game started? Is it more, hey, let's get Josh Allen in the second half of the year running the ball more? Because, their running game has struggled, and I know you like their rookie running back.
Yeah, well, I did till he got hurt. We'll see. I still believe in him. It's early in the season. But as far as the running game, first of all, the passing game is just working. So they're kind of sticking with that. I think we're number 4 in passing, and number 7 in offense, and number 32 in DVOA as far as rushing. So why not stick with what's working? The problem is when people know what to expect, they're going to, just protect against that. So we need to get Devin Singletary involved a little bit more. I know that one of our linemen, Feliciano, was out last week, so that might have contributed to some of his struggles. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully we can do a little bit better against the Chiefs.
Levi, what about these comments right here? And look at this one.
I appreciate it. I mean, I haven't read all those books, but I've read way too many books in my life.
How about this? I'm the sports whisperer. Levi, you could be the sports philosopher with that background.
That's a really good handle. I should steal that. Thank you.
All right. So look, a lot of times young teams, they think they're better than they are, right? Bill Parcells used to say the first 4 weeks of practice, you beat them down. The last 2 days of practice, you make them think like they're going to dominate. So they're coming off a bad loss. So are the Chiefs. You never want to play the Patriots or the Chiefs or the Packers after a loss. What concerns you the most about this game?
Everything. First of all, the Chiefs, and obviously they're upset. They got blown out and embarrassed against the Chiefs, against the Raiders. The other thing is just injuries, like I mentioned before. If Tre'Davious isn't playing, Tyreek Hill is going to torch us. And if Milano's not playing, Travis Kelce's going to torch us. So I really hope those two play. And even then, it's going to be a struggle.
Okay, Levi, my thing is can the Bills beat the Chiefs in a shootout? Normally you want to limit the Chiefs, and the way to do that is do what the Raiders did, short passes, control the running game. But if you don't have a dominant running game, can they beat them in a shootout?
Last year I wouldn't have said yes, but this year I think so. Yeah. Last week the Bills looked really bad, admittedly. But first of all, there was the schedule change last minute. I think that messed them up a little bit. John Brown didn't play. Tre'Davious White didn't play. Those are 2 of our best players. And as we've seen with Josh Allen, he's not great at going through his progressions, when he's improvising, but he can go through his reads and get it done. He was relying on John Brown last week. I think Diggs had 16 targets. That's a lot of targets to one player. So I think that if we get the offense back to what it was the first few weeks, we do have a chance to keep up in a shootout.
I really think, and people may not understand this, but I think Cole Beasley, if he could get 8 to 10 catches, because he's a possession receiver over the middle, you may not be able to run the ball, but if you get 6-7 yards with Beasley, that controls the clock, that moves the chains. Do you expect Beasley to have a key factor in this game tomorrow?
That's a really good point. Yeah, I kind of forgot about him. He's like the Julian Edelman of the Bills.
Yeah.
He's really, really good, and he keeps surprising me. Every single time it's an important key down, they go to him, and he just gets it done. So, I hope that he can step it up as well.
This may, Greg brings up a great point. Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, extra time between games. The one thing that Belichick is going to do, the one thing that Andy Reid and Belichick do so well is they always take away your first option, right? The Chiefs' defense may not be elite, but they try to make you do something you're not comfortable with.
Yeah, well, they're going to try to blitz us for sure. But, Josh Allen's been one of the best quarterbacks under pressure this year. I think, as we kind of alluded to before, the key to the game is going to be if we can get pressure ourselves. If we have to blitz, it's not going to be a good thing. But if we can get organic pressure against Mahomes, we do stand a chance. And I think the line right now is the Chiefs favored by 5. And I personally think the Bills can at least cover. I'm not saying we're going to win, but I think we can at least cover.
I can't hear you.
We lost you, Monte.
I got you, Levi.
I got you too, Rico.
We don't got Monte.
All right, Rico.
We're
going to bring on the new nickname for Levi is the sports philosopher. Can he give Rico some tips and decor? I'm the sports whisperer. He's the sports philosopher.
The philosopher. Why? Because he's got all those books back there?
That is 100% correct.
He's got those books because he wasn't paying attention the first time he read them. All my books are gone. I read them. I got rid of them. I handed them down.
Rico, we got some good news this week. We are now, when you go to YouTube and you type in sports shows, we are third. We are behind Undisputed, and we're just behind the Norm Macdonald show. So we are number 3. And someone said to me, isn't it going to be great when you're number 1? And think about this. I don't want to be number 1, Rico, because number 1, you get complacent. You're not as hungry. Here's what I want to be. I want to be next. That's the ranking I want. Because when you're next in line, when you're next to get your food, how happy are you? So is it possible we could be next as a ranking?
Do you remember the commercial Snapple used to have? We just want to be number 3 behind Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Number 3 was great. They loved being at number 3.
Listen, I want to be next.
3. I like 3.
I don't want to be number 1. I want to be next. When you're waiting online at the DMV and then you're next, you get so happy. When you're waiting for food and then you're next to get your food. So why can't that be a ranking?
I'm the guy who somebody in front of me always has coupons or the credit cards don't work. That's what I feel like my life is sometimes when I'm in the supermarket.
Okay, guys, we're going to talk a little fantasy football here. First, before we go, Levi, give us your prediction of the Bills-Chiefs game, and then we'll get you to talk fantasy football.
I don't have a score per se, but me and my buddy, we pick all the games. First of all, your record is phenomenal. I'm super impressed because
48-17.
I'm floored. Because this is my first year trying to do it, and with the spreads, it's so difficult. I'm so glad I don't do it with real money. It's impossible. But as far as this game, I'm taking the Bills, obviously, because I'm a Bills fan, but also I think we can at least cover the 5-point spread.
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be a close game, and I think you hit the nail on the head. If the Bills can somehow hit – one thing we don't see a lot of Mahomes getting sacked or hit because he's so elusive, but if you could go up the middle and really force him to what the Raiders did and what teams are starting to do, the Chargers did this in the first half, is they'll double-team Tyreek Hill on one side or Travis Kelce when he's isolated, and then they play zone on the other side so you're not getting beat by a Watkins or a Tyreek Hill. So I think teams have kind of figured out how to slow down that offense. So, and I think the Bills, again, defensively, I love their head coach. I think he's a great coach. So I think this game could be close.
Yeah, the blueprint is there. The Patriots gave the blueprint, and then the Raiders, or actually, I don't know if it was the Chargers or the Patriots, but somebody came up with that blueprint of just keep everybody back, get pressure. Hey, it worked. The Raiders blew them out. So I'm not saying the Bills are going to do it, but if Tre'Davious White plays, and they follow that same blueprint, I think it's definitely possible that we keep the game at least close.
All right, let's get to some fantasy football questions. Look, I told you guys early on, you didn't want to believe me. Justin Herbert, I picked him up in my fantasy football. He has been an absolute stud. I got a question what the Chargers coaching staff was doing when they didn't believe in this guy. When I saw him play almost every game at Oregon, I knew he's Big Ben size and he's more athletic. So first question to you, Levi, is he a top 5 fantasy quarterback right now?
Top 5 is a stretch, but I wish I picked him up. But okay, for fantasy, the position is just so deep. So like I've been streaming the position, so obviously I'm a little bit jealous that you have him, but at the same time, I'm totally fine to just take whatever quarterback's on the wire. Like last week it was Teddy Bridgewater. This week it's Matthew Stafford. Next week it'll be whoever's playing the Jets. It just kind of goes, week by week.
Okay. Backhand combo. Rico, what's happening with the hair this week?
Oh, the hair. I went swimming last night, and when we got home, it was too late to take a shower, so I'm all chlorined up. It's just going everywhere. I tried to do it, it just wasn't listening, and that was that. I said.
Listen, back to Justin Herbert. He's averaging like 290 yards. The problem that they're having is their coaching staff is so conservative. In the first half, he comes out slinging it, and then it looks like Rex Ryan offense. It's run, run, pass in the second half. Run, run, pass. The entire Chargers organization should fire those coaches. Get someone, from college, who's going to come in. Listen. Lincoln Riley of Oklahoma is the next head coach in the pros. I don't think the Jets are going to get him because no coach is going to go to New York. But if you tell me, hey, you got Justin Herbert and that team with Derwin James coming back, the Chargers are not that far off from being a legitimate team. Now, my next question, fantasy football question, the rest of the year. Rico, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Levi. Are you taking Baker Mayfield or Andy Dalton? I think Andy Dalton's going to put up numbers in Dallas. I don't know if it transitions to wins, but I think he can be a very effective fantasy football quarterback. Rico, your turn.
Oh, I'll take Baker Mayfield just because he can
run. They run the ball all the time.
Yeah, but he can run. He can also run. And you got to remember, Ezekiel Elliott's behind him. They were already featuring him. You don't think they're going to feature? Oh, you both are disagreeing with me.
No way. There's no way. First of all, yeah, they're going to feature Zeke, but that's not a bad thing for Dalton. Okay, I looked this up before the show just for reference. Up to this point, Dak is QB number 4. Baker is QB number 24. Dak had 138 fantasy points, and Baker had 74. It's
not even close. Andy
Dalton is a previous starting quarterback. You can't tell me that the gap between Dak and Andy Dalton is more than 18 spots.
Exactly.
Well,
Rico, we have this bingo card. It says, I have no facts, but you're wrong. We have the facts, and you're wrong.
I'm going with Joe. I have 0 facts, 0 numbers, but you're both wrong.
Rico, they want to win throwing the ball 20 times with Baker Mayfield. And don't tell me he's a running quarterback because he doesn't even have elite speed. Kyler Murray's a running quarterback. Josh Allen is a running quarterback. Baker thinks he's an athlete, but he's not. You can't tell me, I know you're tired, but you can't tell me that Baker Mayfield is a better fantasy quarterback moving forward than Andy Dalton.
Well, I'd rather go with a quarterback. I mean, Andy Dalton, he's been in the pros before, but he threw a lot of interceptions. I think I've seen Andy Dalton play more than both of you guys.
Yeah, that's a good argument.
Didn't he go to the playoffs 5 times in a division with the Ravens?
He had 2 already elite receivers. He had Mixon behind him for 2 years. He didn't do much.
You're right, and I'll give you an argument for you is that last year Dalton was terrible, and their offensive line in Cincinnati was terrible. And Dallas's offensive line is all banged up. I think they have 3 starters out. So there is a world in which Dalton suffers a lot.
Okay, I'm gonna go with this. They went to the playoffs 5 times. You're telling me that A.J. Green and Tyler Boyd and Joe Mixon, who's disgusting and you guys love him, is better than Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, and Amari Cooper. It's not even close. Come on, what are we doing here? What are we doing with this argument? Me and Levi are on the right side of history here.
We've kind of secretly come to grips that you're right about the Derrick Henry Mixon thing. We were stretching. We wrote a story for Mixon that has not come true.
Listen, I didn't want to play this. I didn't want to show this because I respect Levi. But I mean, did you see what Derrick Henry did to Josh Norman? I mean, Derrick Henry, you feed him 25 times, he's getting 100 yards. Mixon's going to have 1 game where he blows up, and then he'll disappear for 2 or 3 games. And it's not so much him, it's the offensive line that's atrocious in Cincinnati.
No, that's one I got wrong for sure. And that play was amazing. I was actually sharing a meme with Rico about that. That play was so cool. I love Henry. I always did. I saw the upside with Mixon, and sometimes I just love to go. I shoot for the moon. I did the same thing with Drake. We have Drake on one of our teams, and that's another one I got wrong. You can't get him all.
Does George owe you money? I mean, what is happening here? I would take Maker over
what? Me and George are boys. That's my boy on there. I had to put a somebody in the comments that was going to back me up. I was getting hammered too much. I called him.
We're talking about fantasy. We're not talking about real life. I take Baker in real life too.
But fantasy, you take Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. Well, today I want to take Baker Mayfield. He's going against a much better defense. Speaking of defense, have you seen the Julio Jones defensive reel? They have a reel out there of all the interceptions. What's his name? Matt Ryan is thrown, and Julio Jones is a great tackler, and he hammers some people. And they have
when he gets in to say he always likes to make the tackle, right? Is that what
yeah. So they have like him making like 10 tackles, and it's great. You got to look for it. It's amazing. It's Julio Jones defensive reel. It's called.
Rico, you guys can Levi, you could answer this question. Then we'll go to Rico. My friend Mike from Pittsburgh emails us this question. Rico, John Connor, disappointing pro, or is he a legitimate number one running back in fantasy? And can you win a Super Bowl with him as your number one running option? Levi, we'll start with you.
James Conner, right?
James Conner.
John Connor saves the world.
John Connor is from the Terminator.
James Conner saves Pittsburgh.
Levi, you like him or no?
Yeah, I love him. He's not, top 10 or anything, but he's a good RB2. He's definitely a guy I want on my team, for sure.
Rico?
Well, I agree with Levi. He's an RB2, but he's the guy that they're going to want to feed the ball within the 5-yard line. Even if their confidence in him is low, they're going to hand him the ball because they want him to have the numbers.
One thing about that, though, they seem to be including McFarland and Snell a little bit more than they said they would. I know that historically Pittsburgh has said, bell cow, bell cow, bell cow. But this year that's not exactly been true. So that's one thing that's a negative for Connor.
You can, whatever Tomlin says, just do the opposite. For years he's been saying, I want to do a shared backfield. Never did it. This year, he's like, it's going to be all Connor, completely.
And now they're sharing the back.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Rico, and one more final email regarding Big Ben. Is Big Ben the comeback player of the year?
So far, I think so. I don't see nobody. Oh, no. Who do you think?
Well, okay, wait. Are we talking about like in Vegas? Like if you bet comeback player of the year?
No. Basically just talking about, what he's done after taking a year off. Who else would you take? Is there someone in mind?
I was just thinking about Alex Smith. That's all.
Right.
Even if he doesn't play another snap, like it's so amazing what he did that he's got to be comeback player of the year. But as far as like performance on the field, yeah, Big Ben.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you're right. With your heart, you want to give it to Alex Smith, but I don't know how to even vote for that comeback player of the year. Like whoever votes for that, everybody's going to vote for Alex Smith.
I just got to say, and this is probably an obscure reference, but you guys are the actual living proof of the movie Multiplicity with Michael Keaton, because you think about football and then your split personality is everything to do with fantasy, which is my final email. Did you guys spend more than 20 hours a week preparing for your fantasy football, the over-under? I told him no. There's no way these guys spend 20 hours a week talking fantasy football before the draft.
Before the draft?
Before the draft for 20 hours.
Before the draft, absolutely. I thought you meant
over. I threw all my money. I'll push my chips in on the over.
Easy. I thought you meant like per week. Per week, no. But
before the draft, did you spend more than 20 hours preparing for the? You
much
did
much more.
We used to sit in the park for 3 hours at a pop, 6 feet away.
Are you kidding?
Levi, you're in school.
Yeah.
Rico, you have a wife and kid. How do you guys have time to put more than 20 hours in a fantasy football draft?
Well, summer break for me. That's my excuse.
Mine's called a nanny. So I had to pay per hour to do that.
So wait, I'm wrong? You guys spent more than 20 hours preparing for fantasy football draft.
It's not, see, this is the thing. It's not a conscious decision. We don't say, hey, like Rico, like we need to spend 5 hours this week on fantasy football research. Like we're addicted. That's all we do when we have free time.
Yeah, that's it. That's my free time. We do drafts together. It gets dysfunctional.
And yet I have you both on my show as often as possible. What does that say about me? All right, last question for Levi, then we'll let him go. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to lose touches, especially in the red zone now that Le'Veon Bell's there. Would you try to trade him now and get some value, maybe a number one wide receiver?
I mean, the question is, what are you going to get for him? If you could get something substantial for him, yeah, I would get rid of him. but I think he's still valuable. We saw last year with Damian Williams and LaShawn McCoy, they were both used quite a lot. So I foresee Bell taking over, that LaShawn McCoy role, and Allaire is going to continue doing what he was doing. To be honest, he's been underperforming already. So, if you were smart, you would have traded him by now. But I have him on one of my teams and I didn't. So what does that say about me?
All right. Admitting addiction is the first step. Listen, Greg agrees with you. 50 hours of fantasy football prep, minimum.
Greg must have a good team, is what Greg must have.
All right.
Minimum.
Finally, Levi, I wanted to ask you one more question. I picked him up. I think this is becoming Aaron Rodgers' third down go-to guy. Robert Tonyan, tight end for the Green Bay Packers. He is lighting it up. He has 5 touchdowns. I know he had 3 in one game, but he's a definite number 1 tight end. Would you agree moving forward?
This week for sure. There's so many tight ends on bye. But moving forward, I'm a little skeptical just because Devontae Adams has not been playing. And Alan Lazard is going to come back. He's definitely proven that he has chemistry with Rodgers. So hopefully going forward, he'll still have value. But we'll see. We'll see.
I really think that just in a short period of time, he's done in a short. He's got 13 receptions. He's done more, and he's more dangerous than what's the guy's name they had? Jimmy Graham.
Yeah.
Jimmy Graham was a huge disappointment in the red zone and with Aaron Rodgers.
And that's weird because Jimmy Graham looks good on the Bears this year. So I don't know what that was. I thought Green Bay just didn't use the tight end, but I was wrong there. They obviously do. And just a little tidbit, Tonyan was training with Kittle in the offseason. So I'm not saying he's Kittle, but I'm sure he picked up a couple tricks.
Last question, Levi. Bears win 10 games this year or no? Over, under?
Ooh. I don't know. I actually don't know.
I got 4 wins right now.
I would say the under, but that defense is good enough to carry them. And I picked them to win today against Carolina. So we'll see.
See, I have Carolina. I talked about this in preseason. I keep bringing this up. I talked about it with Rico. Vegas had Carolina winning 5 games. And I told everyone, bet your mortgage, bet your car. Rico, sell your first child if you have to bet Carolina winning more than 5 games. I think Carolina wins today. That'll be 4 wins that they've won without Christian McCaffrey.
You think their defense is good enough?
I do not, but I think Teddy Bridgewater is so smart, and my boy Robbie Anderson from the Jets has 36 catches on the year. He's been phenomenal for that team.
That was the best pickup of the offseason, I think. He's been amazing.
He's been great. All right, Levi, love having you on. Good luck to your Bills today. You're a plethora of knowledge. The sports philosopher is your new nickname. Thanks so much for coming on and taking the time out.
Thank you so much.
All right, have a great Sunday.
You see the diamond in the rough I found? He used to just analyze the NFL draft. I turned him into a budding star.
Rico, let me ask you this question. He loved football his whole life. How did he, and I should have asked him this question, how did he not play fantasy football? I don't understand.
I do not know. When he told me he didn't play fantasy football, I literally almost fell out of my chair. And I told him, I said, you know what? I got to show you something.
So you gave him his first hit of fantasy football addiction.
I gave him his first hit, and he hasn't turned back. He said to me, are you watching the draft, the NFL draft, the regular draft? And I said, what are you talking about? Because I totally forgot it was on. And he showed me all this paperwork that he had of who he liked, who was going there. And I said, whoa. I said, this is a lot of homework. I go, for nothing. I go, you're getting nothing from this, right? And I go, you should do fantasy football. And he goes, what is that? I said, oh, let's go get a cup of coffee.
How about this nickname? Levi the Lightning.
Levi the Lightning.
Wow. Okay, here's a good question, Rico. Here's a good question.
Lighting.
How about this?
We talk about the season to come.
So there's no off season for you.
Well, no, we talk. You don't got that friend that you can just talk about everything with, and that you agree to disagree, then agree, and then you could talk. When you have a friend that you could talk into something, and they're not just so stuck on something. That's how we have. That's our relationship on things.
Okay, Rico, let's get to your area of expertise. You are 4-1, winning money for people. 4 winning weeks, 1 losing week. Let's start right away. The 4-1 Browns at the 4-0 Steelers. Mike doesn't want you to touch this game, but I brought this up with Representative Galonski. The Steelers have 20 sacks, 70 pressures, Rico, 70 pressures on the This defense is borderline steel curtain.
Well, the line has moved in this game a lot, and I think if they can stop the run, Cleveland, which is shocking, is got these big receivers, they got these great running backs, but they're a running team. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh because I'm a Pittsburgh fan, but Pittsburgh got a beatdown from them last time they played, so I think they're going to come in this game with a chip on their shoulders because the players were disrespected on the field at the end of the game when they were already about to lose. With less than a minute left, down by.
Yes, and of course, the Myles Garrett incident where he went after the guy with the helmet. So, what is your prediction? I like the Steelers in this game. I'd be shocked if the Browns win.
Yeah, I like the Steelers in this game too. I like them big time. Surprisingly, the money has been moving. Weirdly, it was going in the Cleveland way. It opened up at 5 and ended up at 3, that means a lot of people are betting Cleveland.
A lot of people are betting Cleveland. I don't understand that.
But if you go on like watching the last game, which again, they have Pittsburgh's defense was on the field the whole game, so by the end they were a little worn out. There's more players on the defense now than they had last year who weren't hurt, sticking to it. It's hard for me to go against Pittsburgh just in general, so I'm going to go, with Pittsburgh purely as a fan, as I am, but I am going to take them also as a bettor too.
So a lot of people,
32-14. I'm not even giving them 2 touchdowns.
Wow. So you're saying it's going to be a blowout. I don't like the sound of this at all. I'm requesting Rico to be my sensitive. You and George have a strange relationship. I mean, you and George, I don't understand what's going on there. All right, let's move on.
George texts me about LA sports, and I don't even know how to respond. I'm like,
because you're not an LA sports fan.
I'm not an LA sports fan. I like the Rams. I like the Rams.
Let's let people behind the curtain. George texts me. He's like, I want LA to be the city of champions. And I think I responded, well, you know what? I want to marry Jennifer Garner, but she got a restraining order. So you know what? It's not – you already won with the Lakers. How spoiled can one person be?
I know. Listen, I live in LA. They are this spoiled. They'll consider the season a wash if they can't get a Dodger World Series or a Rams Super Bowl.
Listen, it's going to be crazy tonight because the Sunday night game is the 49ers and the Rams, and the Dodgers play at night in Game 7. So George, I don't know if he drinks, I don't know what he does, but he's going to be a nervous wreck.
I hope he has 2 TVs or a good.
All right, Rico. Green Bay Packers. I said this after like week 2. This is the best Green Bay Packer team I have ever seen. They are my Super Bowl winner in the NFC. We know about the Saints, the most overrated team in the history of the NFL. They're only favored by a point over Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks. The only way I could see this is that Todd Bowles and his defense. But here's what most people don't know who don't follow the Packers like I do. They are number 1 in yards per play. So that means they are getting big chunks of yards on every play. They've done this without Devontae Adams. They've done this only using Aaron Jones sparingly, which drives me crazy because I have him in fantasy football. How are they only a 1-point favorite?
You know what? This game reminds me when I did all the paperwork on this game. It reminds me of last year when the Eagles out of nowhere beat Green Bay on, I think it was like Thursday night game or something. It was a weird loss. I mean, they had 3 losses last year, and one of them was to the Eagles. It reminds me a little bit of that, but I mean, to put your money against Green Bay is stupid. It's one of those things that you can't. Green Bay is proven. They've showed they are on fire. They are
on the outside looking in, Rico. Are they as good as I think they are? You're not a Packer fan. Are they as good as they think they are?
I think they're great. I think whenever I watch them, I think they walk down the field as easily as Kansas City, and nobody wants to look at that because, again, like I said when I was on that other show, when I was on Titletown, when I said the
with
one
Jay
thing
Andrews and Brandon Jackson,
they're always missing the last speck of piece to get to the Super Bowl.
They have it this year, right?
I thought last year they kind of had it, but this year I feel like they got it. They
have no weaknesses. I know their defense is not great, but they do 2 things. They turn the ball over in the secondary, and they get to the quarterback, and that's all you need to do. Look, I have the Packers winning this game 27-20. What do you have?
I have blowout. I think Tom Brady will come back close in the fourth quarter, but I'll say 34-17.
Wow.
I
Okay. So you
blowout.
have two blowouts so far. The favorite. You have two blowouts.
I think the teams, people are like Tampa Bay got all built up because they have Tom Brady. I think other teams are like, yeah, they got Tom Brady. Let's give them a beatdown. So
Yeah,
I'm
listen,
hoping.
let's go to our final game. Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Look, the Chiefs struggled last week. The Raiders, they came out looking great, and the Raiders made the adjustments. I don't think this is going to be that easy. I think teams have finally figured out, like with Lamar Jackson, how to kind of make them uncomfortable. Teams are starting to do what I said early on. What the Chiefs like to do, for those fans who don't really understand the intricacies of the offense, is they'll put Tyreek Hill on one side, they'll put three wide receivers on one side, and teams are playing man-to-man. Now they're double teaming the isolated guy, and they're playing zone on the other side, so they just can't beat you deep. Patrick Mahomes is going to have to dink and dunk. I think that Cole Beasley's going to have a huge game for the Bills. 8-9 catches over the middle to try to keep them off the field. I think this is a closer game than most people think. What do you say?
It's tough to go against Kansas City, especially after a loss. Their last,
you take nothing in that loss then last week.
What's that?
You don't look down on them because they lost last week.
No, I think they'll come back. I think they play so cocky because they're so good that sometimes when I watch them, I feel like this set they look lazy. Sometimes they walk on the field and look lazy, and it kind of gets just because they're so arrogant. So I'm thinking, somebody's gonna have two losses in a row. It's gonna be one of those two.
Yeah, unless it's a tie.
Yeah, sure. Short of a tie, you're 100% right. So I'm taking KC with the win and the cover. I think they're going to win by 10 points. I think it's going to be like 34-20, 24, somewhere in that area.
Okay, so you're taking all the favorites then this week.
Yeah.
All right, Rico. Let's get to fantasy football. Listen, I've won 2 weeks in a row. I am now 3-2 against you. I'm going to offer you a way out. Just give me $150. We'll call it even, Rico.
Yeah. I almost want to again. If we didn't already double it, I would double it again. Just you got 1 week on me,
Rico. Okay, so I start first, and I'm going to take the pick of the year right here. Kyler Murray is going to be my quarterback, and here's why. If the Giants can score 34 points on a bad Dallas defense, imagine what Kyler Murray is going to run and throw on that fast turf. So I am taking Kyler Murray as my starting QB.
Well, I'm using my one of two Lamar Jacksons for today against the Eagles. I feel like he's just going to run. I was thinking of Allen again, but I'm just going to go with Lamar Jackson.
Okay, and who is going to be? Let me just write this down. Who is going to be your running back?
Just because you put the picture up, I'm going to go with Derrick Henry.
That hurts. That hurts. Okay, I am going to go with Ezekiel Elliott. I think he's going to have a big game. Listen, I think that Arizona game is going to be high scoring, Rico. I really do.
Do you? You're betting on it. It's literally betting on it. That they're going to be a high scoring game, and the fact that I could put these two guys on one team and put Aaron Jones as my second running back makes me giddy. That I'll have Aaron Jones and Derrick Henry going. I feel like we should just call it a wash.
It's funny because I wanted to pick Aaron Jones, but the Tampa Bay defense is so good against the run, so I stood away from him. I'm gonna shock people here with this pick, but I'm gonna take Madison because Dalvin Cook is out, and I just think that Atlanta defense is so bad, and he's done a very good job filling in for Dalvin Cook. So I'm gonna take him as my running back. My wide receiver. I got to go with DeAndre Hopkins, doubling up with Kyler Murray. I think he has 150 yards and maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns.
I'm going with Tyreek Hill.
Okay, I'm going to go with he had 16 touches last week, targets. I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs of the Buffalo Bills.
I'll go with Cal. Did you say Cal? You didn't say Calvin Ridley, did you?
No, I did not.
I'll take Calvin Ridley. I'm sorry, I was reading my list.
No, I have DeAndre Hopkins and Stephon Diggs, and you pick your tight end.
I'm going to take Mr. Boomer Bust himself, Calvin Ridley. This is my whole team might hinge on just him alone.
That's a questionable pick because Amari Cooper's coming back this week. Okay, and who's your tight end?
You know my boy, Mr. Andrews, because him and Lamar, it's gonna be one of those things that he's gonna throw a touchdown to him. It's gonna be like somebody giving you a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, I get that. I'm going to go with Travis Kelce to try to limit Tyreek Hill. Hopefully, Travis Kelce gets the thing. And my defense, look, I'm going with the Patriots. They play a banged-up Denver Broncos team. Who is your defense?
I'm gonna go with my team. I'm gonna go with the Steelers, even though I know it's gonna be a scoring game. I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh defense to revenge the disrespect of last year.
Listen, 70 pressures on the quarterback for the Steelers. That is just unbelievable. And listen, Calvin Ridley, like you said, he's a lot like he's a little more consistent than Sammy Watkins, but when he shines, it's like 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. When he doesn't play, it's like 4 catches, 48 yards. All right, Rico.
He's done 0.
Yeah, no, listen, you're down 3-2, so this could be the turning point of the season right here. Let's get to one of our favorite parts of the show, Rico's rant. How much you want to bet I can throw the football over the mountains? This is Uncle Rico just talking trash in the movie Napoleon Dynamite. So, Rico, the floor is yours.
All right, well, here we go. So I kept thinking about it, and you know what? I always like this power of a story, of somebody's story. So I'm going to tell a story about myself that actually I find completely hilarious. When I first moved to California, I lived with my sister, and she gives me this room. It's a room, regular room. And the first night I'm there, I'm sleeping. I wake up and I can't see nothing. So I have a thing about me that I let out like blood curling yells, like ah. So I wake up and I just let out a yell, ah, because I can't see, and it's the sun coming through the window and it was hitting me right in the face. So I'm like, oh my God, like it literally, because I couldn't see. So what I did is that I put up curtains and I blocked it off. 2 nights. So my sister comes running in. She's like, holy, what happened? What happened? I was like, it was the sun. I was like, it was this. She's like, what? You scream like a 5-year-old girl. So the next day I'm sleeping, got the windows turned. I sit up and all of a sudden there's a mirror on the back of the door that I didn't know about. Like I didn't pay attention to because I'm there like a week. And I just see a floating head. Just floating, and I see the mirror. It's dark, and I just see it looks like a head that's floating. I do it again. I let out a yell. Ah! She comes running in. What happened? I said, nothing. It was the mirror on the wall. She's like, what the hell? What's wrong with you? Cut to, we're like 2 months later. We go away, and we get a hotel room, and my cousin comes in from Italy. So the beds are really close together. So I'm sleeping, we're sleeping on the beds. I go to roll over, and it's a brand new pillow. So it's a brand new pillow. So my head hits the one side of the pillow, and the pillow comes up. Like, if you have a new pillow, you hit one side, it like comes up like that. So I roll over, I hit the end of the pillow. When I open up my eyes, I see a pillow rolling, coming onto my face. So again, I let out this scream. Ah! So my cousin, on the other hand, was on the other side of the bed, right across from me. So I pretty much just screamed to the top of my lungs right in his face. And he was like, he jumps out of bed. He's like, what happened? What happened? I said, nothing. It was the pillow. I go back to sleep. I wake up like 15 minutes later. He's sitting, shaking still from me screaming on the end of the bed, sitting there. And I go, what's the matter? He goes, what's the matter? He goes, are you kidding me? You screamed in my face. Then we go to lunch, and we're sitting there. My cousin's still like shaky from it. And he's got a cup of coffee, and my sister goes, what's the matter? And he goes, last night, Rico, before he finished saying my name, my sister starts crying, laughing. She goes, he screamed, didn't he? He goes, I don't know what. He woke me up, and he said, it's the pillow, whatever, and went right back to sleep. So apparently, when I get afraid and nobody's in my world, I just scream like a 5-year-old girl. But if there's somebody there, I suck it up. I'm like,
Rico, you know my brother Pete, weirdest dude on the planet. When you wake up my brother Pete, I'm going to show you what he does. No matter when you wake up my brother Pete, he goes like this. What? Like he's going to punch you. I'm like, what the hell are you dreaming about? That this has gone on from the time he was 16 till now. You wake my brother Pete up, out of his sleep, and he goes, huh, like he's going to punch you. Like, and I'm like, what are you dreaming about?
What happened to you? I grew up with you. Your life was not that traumatizing.
You can't have better parents than my parents. Your life can't be that bad.
World.
Rico, so you have night tremors? Is this what's happening?
No, I don't have night tremors. It never happened. It hasn't happened since that time. But that being said, it happened, and it happened in like a 2-month succession.
Have you had that happen with Melissa sleeping in the same bed with you?
No, I haven't. I don't, because I don't sleep that well lately.
Well, it's hard to sleep well when she constantly pushes you on the couch.
Yeah, exactly. Since I sleep in a different room.
Yeah. It's like 4:30 in the morning, and Rico's watching Cobra Kai, and she's like, come to bed. You're like, no, I got to finish it.
I can't. Daniel LaRusso's mad. Are you a Cobra Kai or a Miyagi Dojo?
You know, I'm going to tell you a quick story, and then we'll get to my extra point. You know, when I first watched Karate Kid, okay, I kind of started rooting for Cobra Kai. By the way, the scariest image ever as a teenager was the Cobra Kai dressed in skeletons smoking weed in the bathroom. But here's the thing. If someone beat me up, okay, I would train my butt off like I did. I got picked on as a kid. It wasn't until I got stronger.
That's not surprising.
It wasn't until I got stronger and was in college that I started beating the people up who picked on me as a kid. But Daniel LaRusso, scrawny, he keeps picking on these guys. Like, he goes to the high school and he pours water on them. Like, you have Elizabeth Shue, who, with all due respect, at 17 years old, I was 12, 13, had the biggest crush on her. You could be kissing Elizabeth Shue somewhere, but no, you want to spray water on Cobra Kai. Like, what are you doing? Why does Daniel LaRusso, as a kid, constantly pick on these guys when they already beat his ass?
My favorite part about it is when he tells me, he's like, yeah, that kick you cheated. That wasn't a legal kick. The kick at the end, which makes it so good, because it's just like it dismisses the whole other thing. Like, you cheated. Like, at the end of the day.
My favorite part.
LC is hilarious.
No, she is. My favorite part of Cobra Kai on Netflix is when they're sitting together at dinner and the wives and his girlfriend make them talk, and Daniel goes, how about another round? And finally, Johnny shows a little bit of humility. He goes, I've been 4 rounds with Daniel. I don't know if that works out too well. It's coming. Listen, you got to do a better job of getting Ralph Macchio, your paisan, to come on this show.
I gotta find how you get in touch with him. Not only him, any human being out. And this pandemic's really shut me down. I got no juice. I can barely get my kid on the show. He's like, pandemic. I'm like, you live in my house, son. You live in the same house.
Rico, real quick before we let you go, okay? Who do you root for? Do you root for Johnny like Pam does here, or do you root for Daniel?
Johnny. The reason I root for Johnny is just because that one line. He's like, you cheated. like again, I just love the fact of just because you feel for him more in the sense of like, he didn't get successful. He kind of hasn't let go of high school. It kind of like, we
all know people like that.
He was trending up, and then you find out that he plays a great character. You can't even argue with it.
Listen, we all know people like that. I just told the story about my high school hockey game. So we all know people who are still holding on to high school. But again, I'll say it again, and I'm saying this, and I'll post this video on the Cobra Kai website, on Twitter. What I love about the show is you root for Johnny and you root for Daniel. You root for the good guy and you root for the bad guy, because we can all identify with their characters.
LC is killing me today, whoever that is. She's just in it for the money.
Rico, no comment on. Okay, you've been on movie sets, you've been on TV sets. Let's do this again to get it right for Cobra Kai. What I love about Cobra Kai is that Daniel and Johnny are both good and both bad, and you can root for both of them.
Yes, it's a genius part of the writing. It's kind of like, you're right. There's points where you really want. You don't care who wins at the point at that particular time. You just know somebody's going to win, and you're right. The writing has been great. They took
Rico.
They took the villain and made him a good guy, and kept the good guy a good guy.
Yeah, listen, they both have flaws like all of us do, like your hair this morning, flaws, like you playing me in fantasy football.
I love you, brother.
All right. Take care, Rico. Love having you on. That was Rico, Show Me the Money, Graziano. And now we get to the end of the show where it's Monte's extra point, and I'll be real quick. Look, my friend Jared, I have friends who text me all the time, and they keep talking about superstition and unlucky. You just saw Rico. Rico is one of the luckiest men I've ever met in my life. Everything that man touches turns to gold. But I don't believe in superstition. I don't believe in superstition or lucky shirts. I had a friend of mine named Mike who said, I'm 18-1 when I wear this Giants jersey. It is lucky. So I said to him, why don't you wear it every game? He's like, no, I got to pick special moments. I'm like, okay, why don't you wear it to a bar because you haven't been on a date in 3 years? Maybe the lucky jersey will get you a woman. We see all the time. This team's lucky. I need to sit in I need to sit in my special lucky chair. When you don't play or coach in the game, and maybe I feel this way because I was a former player, I was a former coach. I don't have superstitions. I don't say that if I wear this shirt or sit in this chair, it's lucky or unlucky. I have nothing to do with the outcome of an NBA, NFL, NHL, or Major League Baseball game. Nothing. And all you people watching who hold on to these superstitions, you have nothing to do with the outcome of the game. It's silly. It's childish. It is like me, bring it back, having this as my bed sheet, the NFL. All right? I want to thank Representative Tavia Galonski. I want to thank Levi Chadorow. I want to thank Rico, Show Me the Money, Graziano. Listen, he's doing great when it comes to making money for people. He's doing a tremendous job. He has 4 winning weeks, 1 losing weeks. But most of all, I want to thank all of you for making this show possible. We'll see you on Tuesday. Remember, on Tuesday now we do NFL recap. We're going to recap Week 6 in the NFL. So I want to thank all of you for watching. And in the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back.